Welcome to the Find Your Voice, Change Your Life podcast with psychologist Dr. Doreen Downing. Listen in as Doreen interviews people who felt they didn't have a voice or who suffered extreme speaking anxiety. You'll hear stories about how they struggled to speak up, what they did to find their authentic voice, and the confidence they now feel to speak up and make an impact. If you want to get started right away to find your voice, download Doreen's free 7-step guide to fearless speaking at doreen7steps.com. And now, here is Doreen.
Hi, this is Dr. Doreen Downing. I'm a psychologist and I have lots of curiosity. I invite people here that I want to talk to about their lives and what they encountered when it came to finding their voice. Some of them feel like they've had some kind of trauma in the past and that holds them back until they find the power. Or sometimes people have no trouble speaking up in public, but maybe they got trapped in a corporate setting where they had to actually speak corporate and it really wasn't true to who they are. So we have lots and lots of stories. This is my 84th session today, and I am really happy to celebrate with my friend Michealene. And I would like to say hello to you first before I read your bio.
Oh, hello. Thank you for having me.
Ooh, I love your voice. It is so, people talk about my voice, but I just went, wow. I hear resonance, Ooh, when the voice reaches your body and you feel like, ooh,
Yes. Thank you.
it's the difference between a dynamic speaker and a magnetic speaker. And I've seen your videos, your TED Talks and other YouTube videos of you speaking, and you are so natural, so authentic.
Oh, thank you.
So
that's the good and the bad. I mean,
uh-huh.
I have always been authentic, and that's not always good.
Well, it's true to you, and that's what I love.
Yeah.
So you sent me a little something here. So Michealene Cristini Risley, is it Risley or Risley?
Risley.
Risley is an American writer, director, and human rights activist. She ran for the Americans' first nomination for President of the United States in 2012 and has currently created a new primetime live action series based on her activism called Warriors of the Light. Well, we could talk about that, but first let me again just say how pleased you found time to, I'm so touched that you found time to be with me today.
Oh, thank you. Well, again, an honor to be here. I'm grateful.
Yeah, my listeners are too. So I guess partly I want to say that how I became introduced to you is through a group of women that we are all professionals and have accomplished much in our lives. And we get together and it's called a mastermind, and we share the truth about what it's like to be who we are. And we also support each other. And you talked in one of our groups about your work, your activism in Africa, and had a video, I think in 2010, 2011. And it was about girls in Africa that were raped because they were seen as medicine for men who had AIDS. So I watched that video, and I think it was called Tapestries of the Hope. Yeah, Tapestries of Hope. And that's where, speaking of voice and finding your voice and then going out into various arenas and, speaking up about that, what kind of courage and what kind of strength that takes. So I just wanted to say to my listeners, that's how I got introduced to Michealene and have been following her. And hello.
Hi. Thank you for those kind words.
Yes. So when we talk about you, and maybe just, I always like to get a little head start about, well, where did you grow up and what was just kind of a few details about family situation early
sure.
on.
I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Michigan, fifth of 6 children. We had 3 boys and 3 girls. Italian, Catholic, first generation on my mother's side, my father was born here. So we had lots of old Italian history,
Mm.
which I think, I think when it comes to finding your voice, particularly as a female in an Italian Catholic family, challenging. Because in the bones, I think culturally there is this belief that the males are everything.
Mhm.
So it's something, I think that's probably part of, as a child, why I got so resistant to being less than because of being feminine.
Mhm.
And I think there was a cultural belief that, the boys went out and you just wanted to marry off your daughters. Like, okay, just get it so somebody else has to take care of them. And it's just,
Mhm.
I rebelled against that from the day I was born.
Well, that means you came into this world with a certain kind of spirit that is still alive today, which is wonderful to hear. And being rebellious, though, sometimes creates, the counter in a family. So did you get some kind of like restrictions or some kind of in conflict a lot?
Yeah. So, we had sexual abuse in our family and there were certainly other issues, but I think, and I loved my family. We had lots of incredible times. But I remember one particular incident where my father, we were all sitting around the table, and of course, food was such a big part of our love language.
Mm.
And I remember sitting at the table, and my dad was telling one of his funny stories again, and how he had he came from a family of 9, and his mother didn't have a washer and she didn't speak English, and he stole one from school. Like, he'd tell all these hilarious stories, right? And he said something about how he had run away from home a number of times by the time he was 9. And I remember everyone laughing like they always do, because you hear the same stories over and over again. And I remember sitting at the opposite end of the table from my dad, and I said, "Dad, was your home life that bad?"
Ooh.
And it was like, everyone's like, "God, where did Michealene come from? Like, who is she? Why does she ask these stupid questions?"
Uh,
But it just fascinated me. And it was, I brought things up probably no one wanted to hear about.
Yeah, well, that seems to be your purpose in life, my dear.
Yeah.
And it does take a voice.
It's funny. I think we find our voice and we lose them and gain them again, depending on the situation or the trauma or whatever it is, right? But
Yeah.
I remember as a little kid, I literally remember the day I lost my voice. And we were up at our cottage, and my dad had run over a blue racer. It was a type of snake, and it was dead. And he came running down, and my brother grabbed it from him, and they threw it on the clothesline, this dead snake, and everyone starts screaming and running around. And I remember this little voice in my head said, I'm leaving you. I'm going away. And at first, I was a kid. I was like, what the heck? What's that voice? Am I going crazy? What? And I think it was a part of me saying, I couldn't be here right now, and you're going to have to find your way back to me. And it took me a long time to find my way back to my voice.
Oh. So are you saying that was because of you didn't really fit and you wanted to fit, or there was the abuse, or what was?
I think it was a combination of things. I think it was a combination of, if I wanted to survive in the environment I was in, I would not be able to being truly authentic.
Okay, so that story you just told is one of creating more fear, more just being kind of dangerous. I mean, even though it was a dead snake, it feels like it was meant to scare people.
Right. But it's possible. I mean, a definitely very masculine perspective, right?
Yes.
Brother and my dad and a snake, and
Yeah.
But I literally remember myself saying, this voice saying, I'm leaving you now, I'm going away. And it was like, okay, kind of like I swallowed it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
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 Well,
And
there's something about what you just said too, about the listening. You heard something inside of you. So there was a voice inside of you,
yes.
and you listened to that. And it was obviously something about protection. So to me, it feels like a wise voice in there.
Absolutely. Well, that voice has saved me a lot. And I'm not talking, I'm talking in dangerous situations. That voice has saved me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
When I, even when I was thrown in prison in Zimbabwe, for my film Tapestries of Hope, it was that voice, that instinct. It was like, we had gotten thrown into a prison, and that, that, I guess I'd call it that instinct, that mechanism that you have to listen to. And for example, my assistant, when we got arrested, she had actually gone into shock, and she started to shake.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the decision to make there was one of the guys, so there was the Central Intelligence Organization and the police force. And one of the guys in the police force had never seen her blue eyes before. He'd never experienced a human with blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, okay, I could get him to take her outside and get into the sun, but I also run the risk of, is he going to rape her? I have no control.
Mm-hmm.
And so it literally, I had to pay very close attention to that voice to stay alive and to keep my assistant safe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yet the funny thing too is, like, the same people who would certainly put our life at risk, in a quiet moment, if I was with one of them by myself, they would hand me their phone number and their name and say, please help me get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And so their desperation, these would be the very same people who would put me at risk for death, who are handing me a piece of paper to say, please, if you get out of here, save me.
Mm-hmm. So that listening, I just picked up on inside of you, somebody else has felt that they would then say, listen, help,
Yes.
right? Oh,
Yes.
oh, well, you're giving me little chills here today already. Just knowing you and how you've faced adversity and difficult situations, and this whole idea about a voice inside that speaks to you, speaks to us, and it's about a guidance, I guess, and what you said is sometimes you speak up and sometimes you don't.
No. Well, and I've had situations where when I knew I would speak up, I would be in danger. And I sometimes didn't have a choice. I'll give you an example. I live in Silicon Valley, and many people believe that human trafficking is, it's in that country over there,
Mm-hmm.
rape, abuse, and human trafficking. Well, we are the largest user of human trafficking in the world, the United States. And places like Silicon Valley are the epicenters of some of the human trafficking issues.
Oh my goodness, there you go, pointing to
Oh, yeah.
situations, right? That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michealene. Wow. That must be the new, what your documentary or your new film is about?
No, I actually, you mean the
Players of the
TV
Light.
series.
Uh-huh. Yes. Uh-huh.
And I did, you know what? I hate to do this. My dog is scratching at the door, and he's going to scratch for the next 5 minutes. Do you mind if I just go let him in?
Let's include him.
Oh, really? Okay, hold on. Jax. Oh my God, Jax. Come on. Come on. Oh my gosh. Come on, Jax. Come on. Come here. Oh, he's not coming in. He's like, no, you let me in.
A little shy. Did you say his name was Jazz? Jazz?
JAXX.
X. Okay, XX. Yeah, my cat was Jazz, Jazz.
Oh,
Okay, so anyway, but let me just wind back a little bit, because we're talking about the inner voice, and sometimes you speak up and sometimes you don't. And then you started talking about human trafficking. My goodness, something that you're right, that even most of us think is somewhere else, and yet here it's
the Super Bowl is the largest human trafficked event in the United States, probably globally. Yeah.
mm, mm,
And so I was going to tell you a quick story about using my voice. So I was at in Palo Alto, which is a couple towns over. I was trying to find a vitamin store at Town and Country Village, a little strip mall. And I went in, and I had my GPS on my phone, and I couldn't figure out where the store was. And this young girl suddenly appeared in front of me. She was beautiful, probably 14, dark hair. And she had this blue tattoo on her face and hands, almost like a burn, right? And she spoke to me in a very high voice. It was like, hello. And I thought, the first thing that went through my mind is, oh my God, this person's disconnected from their body.
yes.
And then I look again, I go, oh my God. So this is all going through my brain in very quick. I'm like, oh my God, she is trafficked. The markings on her body are the tattoos from her gang. They keep track of her.
Mm.
And I went, again, being human, I go, oh my God, I just wanted to get some vitamins. I just wanted to get some vitamins, right? And then I said, oh, she's trafficked. Michealene, you can't leave her.
Oh.
So we sat down in front of Trader Joe's. I had her sit next to me, and we started talking. And she started, so I don't know if it'll bore you with the whole story, but basically, the voice, I had two voices. One was saying to me, Michealene, go get your vitamins and go home. Okay. And the other one was, I can't leave her there because she's trafficked and she needs some help. And so I literally had this incredible conversation with her, where at one point she was crying because the Palo Alto police had come over and had gotten a call from Trader Joe's and wanted to know if she was high. Like, they were so poorly trained that all they wanted to know if she was doing drugs in front of Trader Joe's.
Uh-huh.
And I said to her, I want you to know that I do a lot of this work for a living, and I can help you.
Mm.
I said, can you tell me if you are trafficked? And in that very high voice, she said, I don't know you well enough to tell you that.
Mm.
And then she proceeded to start crying. And it's like, I think the point of it is, you can have a voice and you can try to help. But at some point, you have to stop. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. So I tried to help her get to the right organization. I went to the next town over, the police station. I said, you guys are missing it. She's not high. She's trafficked. You need to go help her. In the past, I probably would have brought her home and then gotten in trouble with some human traffickers.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I've learned. So I guess I try to moderate my voice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. But just the story you just told about listening in the moment to what was needed to happen, at least you listened and you took a step, is what I'm getting. And you could have, it's a choice. And each situation that you're coming into, Michealene, feels like, especially with what you're talking about, and I don't need to put air quotes, but I happen to be danger, that that's part of what we, as people who have some activist spirit, need to also moderate ourselves, as we're moving, what is the best individually, but what's the best for the cause, and what's the best for ourselves.
Yes. Well, and I think that's part of why I shifted to writing a TV series as opposed to doing documentaries or films anymore. Because I felt, the question I asked myself is, how can I use my voice and my knowledge to impact the largest group of people?
Mm.
And if we look at human trafficking or rape or climate or privacy, all of these issues are truly solvable, every single one of them.
Mm.
And so I thought the only way to do that is to write a show where we can show how easily they're solved.
You know, what you just said there too, to me, is a powerful message. You know, what you just said. Hey, folks, it's solvable. It is. And I have some experience and I could show you how. And
Yeah.
it's not necessarily being out in the front lines rescuing and, you know, fighting with that which is danger, but I can find other ways. How creative. Wow. Thank you for all of your experience and your willingness to point to what so many people ignore or don't even know about. So thank you.
Well, I don't know that I had a choice anymore, because I think I'd been close to death too many times. And I think, and this last bout when I had been picked up in a lit vehicle by a human trafficking group, I went into PTSD and a couple other things. And I was at a crossroads and I said, you know, I want to be here for my family. And I can't, you know, when you think about the problem, it's just this problem alone, there is more money made per year in human trafficking than there are human beings on the planet. So, boy, little old me gonna fight that? No, not anymore.
Mhm. But we could use different a different connotation of fight,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Educate.
Yeah.
Educate. Yes.
Use your
Well,
voice to educate.
and you know, the thing is, it's a funny thing. The traffickers, if you sat down with a trafficker and a traffic victim, you're not going to see much difference in how they were raised or how they, so I say this coming from abuse, so trust me, I say this very gently, but there is sympathy and empathy for the trafficker too, because it's also a trap.
Mm.
And so we have to figure out a way. How do we find work, meaningful work, and ways for people to take care of their families that don't sell other human beings doing it? But if you didn't have someone purchasing, there wouldn't be a business.
Uh-huh. You're right. It is a business. Mhm.
Yeah.
Big business, apparently. Well, already so much that you've shared today, not only about voice, but about educating us about something that at least most people so far on my podcast have not heard. So this is fabulous that you get some airtime for your voice. And before we finish, I always like to open up to see what might want to be, you know, if you're listening to yourself now, Michealene, what do you feel, based on whatever this moment is for you, that you would like to say? What words come through?
Oh, I think gratitude comes through very loud. Grateful, gratitude. I'm so grateful to be here,
Mhm.
be still alive, and um, with the ability and the knowledge to impact in a much safer way.
Mhm.
That makes sense?
Yeah, the learning that you've had from experience in life has led to a choice that you've made to not sacrifice yourself for what you believe, but to use in a more creative way and live both your values as well as what you're committed to. And so voice just feels like that's what you're saying, is your voice is valuable to you. It comes from experience and you can make choices, and that's what you're doing. And I love gratitude. I love to me, you're actually, you epitomize gratitude because you're so there, you're so relaxed, and you help me see what people see in me when they say how calm I am.
You are so calm. And
Yeah.
you seem so grounded and centered, and I
Well,
appreciate
both of us. It's just like, hi, sister.
I know. And by the way, I can't believe it's already over. That was so quick. Like, no, it can't be over already.
Well, you're not too far away from where I live in Larkspur. So, and I did grow up down in Palo Alto. So
Oh,
I do know the area very well. I know Town and Country Village. So I feel like we will, I just really look forward to more time with you down the line here. Thank you so much.
I look forward to it too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us today for this episode of Find Your Voice, Change Your Life. Each person Doreen interviews shares what has helped them find their voice. You can learn from these guests and find your voice so you can be confident to speak up and speak out. And remember to download Doreen's free 7-step guide to fearless speaking at doreen7steps.com. We hope you enjoyed the show and will return next time. Until then, goodbye for now.